I'm Eric Loy, and this is part 2, a chance to check in once again with previous guests of Eric Loy interviews. We welcome back Elisza. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me on again.
I appreciate it. You got things going on, don't you?
I do. I have very many things going on.
Man, I wanted to bring you back on because you've got some openings, or at least have had some openings, into helping people out with VTubing while keeping your own stuff going on. So I wanted folks to know what was happening with you, and it sounds like you've got a pretty good role going right now.
Yeah, I have, I try and keep myself busy. I like keeping myself busy. I kind of feel like I'm not doing anything if I just sit there and, relax.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have things going on, whether it be with VTubing or something else.
Yeah, that's something else which hopefully will go extremely well for you in the future as well. The VTubing aspect, you kind of tell me exactly what you're doing for VTubers right now.
Right now, I do have my I have a lot of things going on the VTubing side, actually.
Yeah.
Both personally, and also publicly.
Right.
I'll address the public side first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First of all, I did reopen my vManager, commission services, and in which I basically help VTubers, smaller and bigger, depending on what they need. It all is tailored to my client. If they're bigger, generally I give them a sense of direction, tell them, what is best for their channel, and where they should take their content creation next, essentially.
Yeah, this is important. This is good stuff here.
Yeah, and I keep my rates completely flat, whether or not my client is bigger or smaller. I tailor my rates according to the amount of hours I work, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, very straightforward. I try and keep it affordable for everyone with many different options, and I'm glad people have taken me up on it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ask for all of your advice or anything like that in questioning, so people will take it without without paying for it. But the fact is, there are some folks out there who just need maybe a little bit of focus. Is that a good word for it?
I think a lot of there's a lot of traps in content creation that people aren't aware of until they've learned about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they are aware of it. And I would say a lot of VTubers especially tend to fall into these traps. So steering them away is generally a pretty decent direction to take people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the hardest thing about being a manager is putting your foot down and saying, hey, I know you want to do this. I know you're passionate about this. However, it's very unlikely to work if you want to be successful in the VTubing sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, sometimes I'll keep it on the table. I'll be like, if you want to prioritize enjoyment over, say, growth, right? It'll be a lot harder for you to grow. But, I'm sure there's somewhere out there's a happy medium you can hit to, maximize both enjoyment and growth.
How dare you bring reasonable things into this? The facts and logic and reason into this sort of thing. People are supposed to run into things full speed and then worry about it later.
I mean, I've done that before, so it's you live and you learn, basically.
Well, I mean, the great part about this is I really kind of see after all these months of talking with folks and how people are handling it, and seeing how folks who try to bring up companies do this sort of thing, or groups. I think that what you've got here is a much better idea for a lot of people than trying to get together as a group and big giant contracts and signing away things and for kind of sketchy backgrounds. This type of thing makes a lot more sense to me anyway.
So yes, let me address that. I love, debating. I love, expanding on things. And I do have this group called Project Zero currently. That is not the official name. The official name will come later after I've chosen the members, and then we will all come together and we will pick a name for the group that will match, and that will be the branding or the theme for the group.
Mm-hmm.
But after being in the VTubing sphere for so long, I never really understood why people wanted to join a corporation. In a way, yes, joining a corporation will, depending on the size of the corporation, it will boost your numbers, your popularity, your infamy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to also think, is that really worth what you're giving away? You're giving away a lot of your creative freedom, you're having your schedule be dictated by this company, and you're also having some of your revenue taken away as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are okay with that. Some people are completely okay with that, and I'm sure there's good corporations out there that treat their talents well, but these corporations are very few and far between. Either they don't give enough, or they take too much.
Mm-hmm. Or they
For
don't,
example,
or they just don't know what they're doing. In some instances.
even if they do know what they're doing, like a bunch of scandals come out of like Hololive or like V Shoujo, for example. A lot of scandals come out of those companies.
Mm-hmm.
I think V Shoujo is actually one of the better ones, though. But going back to my main point, a lot of people are so starstruck by the thought of an agency or a corporation wanting them, and you see them like even after an agency goes down and the cancellation posts come out, the Google documents come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see it in these too. These people are like, oh yeah, I was so starstruck that a corporation would choose me, but that they don't really think about what they're losing. At the same time, they're losing a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
Like,
losing. They're basically, it becomes you're working for somebody else. No matter if you're thinking you're working for yourself or not. You basically signed a contract that you are working for somebody else's profit.
right, exactly. And again, some people don't mind that, right? It does, essentially guarantee a small pathway to success.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean everyone would be okay with it, which kind of comes to my next point. There are also people that want to start agencies themselves, and they go into it with such a gung-ho attitude. And I really like that people keep a positive mind and a positive attitude about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to ask them, hey, what's your plan for funding an agency? Because agencies, the big differentiator between an agency and a normal indie group is the agency will often provide funds for VTubing related things, thumbnails, editing, rigging, essentially support,
Mm-hmm.
and like model art or just art
Mm-hmm.
commissions in general,
Right.
to help promote yourself, to help get you there,
Right.
right?
Right.
But if you were to ask the agency, how are you funding this? They'll be like, oh yeah, we're looking for investors, which means they don't have investors already. And why would an investor want to put money into this company, especially if the company is unproven,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it really risky if you're signing over your creative rights and your IP to a company that is bound to fail. Because what if you do that and then the company fails and
Yeah.
they don't let you have your IP back?
Right. Right.
You're
Right.
essentially, being withheld from this persona you've attached yourself to for multiple years, which can set you back a lot in the content creation sphere.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Especially for the, we see that what happening with the larger VTubers, but if they have a good audience and they're well known, they can kind of bounce back and regain a lot of. I mean, if they're known and it's known they come back. For someone who comes in with I imagine with a smaller audience and isn't quite as well known, you really are starting from scratch, aren't you? If that happens to you.
Yes. You might keep like, a few viewers, maybe 5 to 10 viewers, but say if you're sitting at 50, 5 to 10 really isn't a lot. It's a very massive like detriment to you.
Mm-hmm. And you start over from everything, like from Twitch partner and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which could impact some of these people's livelihoods,
Mm-hmm.
And so going on to my main point, I'm creating, Project Zero as an indie group. I don't think there will be a theme so far.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few things. I have reviewed some of the applications. I've gone through about 50% of them
Mm-hmm.
already, and there's a lot of applicants. A lot of what I'm prioritizing in this group is first and foremost the connection between the members.
Mm-hmm.
So during the last round of applications, the third round, we'll probably be playing some sort of game together. We'll be getting on call. We're going to be testing everyone's energies. I'll most likely be asking afterwards some of the members, hey, who, did you feel like you got along the best with? Or like, whose energy did you enjoy the most?
Mm-hmm.
And based off of that, I would probably be picking members. And that's just, the final phase. The interview or like the application phase, you can really tell like how much people care about it, or if they're willing to put effort in, depending on how they respond to the application first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. So you're.
But also, yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can also tell based off of the way they word their application or like their social medias where they are as well. So with this group, I'd like some people that are a little bit more pre-established. It doesn't matter how big they are. what I mean pre-established is, are they creating content constantly? Are they active on social media? Are they, using their social media properly? And what I mean by properly is not just self-promoting. If I look at their Twitter, it's not just a bunch of posts saying, "Hey, I'm live right now. Hey, I'm live right now. Hey, I'm live right now."
Mhm.
Like, I really try and look at people's personalities through this. It's a very quick glimpse. It's not going to take in all of them,
Mhm.
but I really try and get a grasp of who they are based off of the way they filled out the application.
Mhm. That's very, very, very rational. And really, that's you're. It sounds to me like you're building a team. Um,
I
you,
would say, like, yes, a team that supports each other, but more so a friend group as well. People
yeah,
who can hang out with each other, who
yeah.
can have fun with each other. Just creating that closeness naturally
Mm.
by introducing people to each other.
Yeah, yeah, that's always that takes a lot of pressure off a lot of things. First of all, right away, people who are comfortable with each other will tend to get along more. Also, it takes a lot of pressure off of you between not having clashes between personalities later on down the line, and that's something you want to avoid, I imagine, as well. Would there be an
Yeah.
instance, a possibility that you have somebody apply who's obviously very talented, obviously very um, has a good personality for it, but is more suited to be a solo act than being part of a group?
I would have to judge it on a case by case basis.
Uh-huh.
And I'm, a very straightforward person. I'll probably tell them, you have a lot of talent. I think you're going to go very far, but I feel like, either you're not suited for this group dynamic with us, or that I feel like you'd achieve much more on your own.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I get that feeling that you do that, but it's it, seeing that and being somebody who's putting this team together, in whether it's a group or a team or anything, you got to have that temptation that, wow, this would be really good for the group to have this person who's going to be really dynamic, even though it's not really going to help everybody else. Um, is that temptation there, or are you going to stay that level headed?
I try and stay level-headed throughout all my decisions.
Yeah.
I try and treat people really rationally, really fairly. Um, I'm the type to hear out, both sides of a story before coming to a final decision, and I would like to avoid as much conflict as possible, essentially.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. I think try to make it as smooth and comfortable for everyone as possible. It tends to create a better atmosphere all the way around, and tends to make things go smoothly later on when something comes up. And they do. Something will come up when you're dealing with a certain amount of people. Um, when you get this group in, will there be what type of control will you have over the group? Will you be setting up events for them that they're mandatory attend? Will you be setting up sponsorships for them? How will the
So
new group work?
let me walk back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to the second phase of the interview. So it really depends on how the interviews go.
Mm-hmm.
About, I would say, I've gone through 50% of the applications. It looks like about 50% of people have hit at least a baseline mark for me. So I'll have to go over the applications again
Mm-hmm.
to really thin down the numbers, because I can't sit here and go through 50% of the interviews. There's just way too many people.
Mm-hmm.
But during the interview session, it'll be, what kind of people are you comfortable with? How would you describe your vibe? What kind of content are you comfortable with, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, again, it'll go to phase three. But this group is a lot more relaxed than a corporation, I would say. We don't take any, financials. We don't own the IP. The only really hard set thing that's part of this group is the soft content deadlines, which can be moved if they are like super extremely busy,
Mm-hmm.
or due to a life circumstance. But we hope to at least make one collaboration between everyone in the group per month, or we hope to at least push people to make at least one long form like video per month,
Mm-hmm.
or a bunch of short form videos, say like three to five.
Yep.
But that really comes down to how things play out. And I would say there's not a lot of funding behind the group. So if someone wants to help, like, like part of the group, if they want to get art for the rest of the group, that's completely fine. But we really have no funding. That's a really big part that I try and make sure people understand, that we don't have investors. We're not an agency. We're not going to be able to give you art all the time. But, everyone in the group can help each other, like give editing tips, give managerial advice, sponsorship advice if they have any, just general stuff that if they have knowledge on, they
Mm-hmm.
would share.
Mm-hmm. If someone were to come up and say, "I have a sponsorship deal, possible," would that be something that you would have for the entire group or certain members of the group, depending on how the sponsorship reacts?
So it really depends. This I've worked with sponsors before.
Mm-hmm.
This depends solely on the sponsor. If they come to one of the bigger members of the group and they're like, "Hey, we want to just sponsor you to play this game for us," right? Then it would be a solo act. But if for some whatever reason, if they wanted to, sponsor everyone in the group, I would make sure, like, I would talk with the rest of the group, ration it out. It would be a fairly small group, maximum 6 members,
Mm-hmm.
including myself. So it would be maybe 5 other people, maybe smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, hey, we have a sponsor. We'll, ration it out depending on what you guys think is fair. Do you guys think it's fair if, everyone gets an even cut, or do you think it's fair if, the bigger members get a slightly bigger cut?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sure, with the type of people I'm hoping to bring on board, I hope that, they're very rational, very non-drama heavy.
Mm-hmm.
If there are problems that arise, I hope that they at least can come to me to help diffuse the situation. But I would like for people to be able to, voice their opinions, but also, like, get through every situation calmly and rationally.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that happens, because it sounds like to me you've got the plan all set up, and and you've got, what you've got in mind for what you wanted to do, and I know that I know I've read, and we've talked before about stuff like this, but um, you're very level headed with this, and it would be very easy for someone to want to be a part of this group. Uh, if someone were to apply and not get in, what would you tell them about possibly the future with your group? Or, I mean, do you see yourself in the long run expanding, or do you want to stay with about 6 people?
I don't think in the long run I'll be expanding. Again, we're not an agency. We're not hoping to make money, so we're not going to be releasing a bunch of waves. The main part of, like, this group that I'd like to focus on is mutual growth.
Mm-hmm.
Growth, so that even if I would hope that the group doesn't end, like, within I put down 2 years minimum, but, like, I'd hope it lasts longer than 2 years, maybe at least 3 or 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone were to want to step away from the group, maybe expand their horizons, then that's completely okay as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I would be supportive of it. Maybe we'll bring on another member if they were to step away, but I don't think that would be fair to the new member coming in unless they're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would hope that the group stays together and that everyone grows, so that eventually, even if the group disperses or disbands in, like, the long run, that everyone has grown enough and gotten enough experience from the group to be able to, forge out on their own,
Mm-hmm.
to be successful, and, to be able to hold their own in the content creation sphere.
Yeah, for the whole thing to be a positive experience all the way around.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes, that's it. That's good to
And
hear.
with the way the group's gonna work, I'll kind of be like the background leader, I guess. Like, I don't really like using that word. Like, I'm sure it's a little bit, like, it's beneficial to have a little bit of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't really want to take a leadership position outside of, like, these interviews, actually getting the group together.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather it be more of a, everyone gets their own opinion, everyone gets their own share of the pie sort of deal.
Yeah. Well, it does. Usually, there does need to be somebody who, at least nominally, is quote unquote in charge, and you'll end up with that spot because you're putting it together.
Yeah, but, like, again, I don't really want too much, power. I still want people to be able to do what they think is best.
Hmm. You know, yeah, and this is a great. I think this is the idea that you got here. It's a very sound one, and I'm thinking of the people I can think of to do this. You're the one to do it. I mean, you got everything set up and ready to go. There's a lot of marketing that I think that people miss out on, kind of basic marketing anyway. It sounds like you could bring a lot of that to somebody who could use that little extra boost, maybe get across a few more platforms correctly, and definitely expand their footprint anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I think marketing is definitely the hardest part about social media. It's such a big part of it,
Hmm.
yet it's so hard to understand because people's interests, trends, they're constantly shifting.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's yeah. I can look back a little bit from the radio days because there's plenty of marketing in radio, and there still tries to be. Um, but the audience for a radio station, it was a pie, and there was a very finite audience in a particular market. And the more stations that came in, the smaller your slices got, no matter what. The the way I look at that at audiences for VTubing is it's not a pie, it's a sphere. It's very much there are audiences everywhere, and that they're so vast that there isn't anything really to divide up. Um, the limit is hasn't been reached yet. Maybe it'll go down in popularity eventually, but maybe it'll go up, and it's got a long way to go. So there are some things to carry over from other types of media, but there are some things that are very distinct to VTubing, and that's where you're going to be coming in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, VTubing's it's a very general term, I feel.
Hmm.
VTubers, there's so many different types, there's so many different niches that sometimes it comes down to the only thing you have in common with another VTuber is that you're both VTubers.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean you're going to have the same audience necessarily or the same type of content.
right, right. Oh, just look at all the folks I've interviewed here, and I mean we're coming up on 400 here eventually in about a month. But everybody has different stories and different backgrounds and different reasons, and some of them are similar, but they're not the same. Uh, Sounds to me that you've got the qualities that will be able to keep folks who want to be focused on success. Um, are you going to be someone who's going to try to keep them in line with success, or are they going to have to choose that themselves once they get into a group?
I think that the way I have the group structured is I'll try my best. Like I don't want to micromanage them.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe like a stern reminder that we do have soft deadlines for the group.
Hmm.
And when it comes to content, again, it's not anything super big. It's just one long form video a month.
Hmm.
So you have 30 days to get that done. Or at least a collaboration with, the group. Again, I feel like that's not very hard parameters
Hmm.
to hit,
Right.
and I'm very flexible with them. So those would be there. Um, but with the group, I can't really say, oh yeah, you have to do this or you'll be kicked out of the group
Hmm.
or you have to do this. You can't really, make a horse drink water. You can lead it to water, but you can't really make it drink. So it's up to the members to chase their own success.
Right. Right. And will there be um, will there be things that are conduct detrimental to the group that might cause problems in their being able to continue going? Are there things that they would do that could cause them to be removed from the group?
I would say just super, super detrimental things like borderline crimes or abuse
Hmm.
would definitely get them booted out of the group. But I would like to say I have a pretty generally good radar when it comes to people.
Hmm.
So I hope to at least vet people well enough for that not to happen.
Hmm.
But
Well,
again, some people are really good at hiding parts of themselves. So I, can't promise that, hey, this won't happen. But that would definitely get them booted out of the group.
Yeah, and you're going through such a process here that you're going to be weeding people out left and right. I mean, and there's going to be some decisions to be made. There's going to be some people. I imagine choosing a five people out of the number of people you've got isn't going to be the easiest thing in the world.
It definitely wouldn't be. I'm hoping to do maybe like 50-50, like so about like 75% of people will get eliminated by the time they hit round 3, and then round 3 will partially be part of my decision, but will also be partially part of like, the other people joining in on the gameplay aspects of the game. Probably something very easy like Among Us, where it's social deduction,
Hmm.
or just a game where people can just get to know each other.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll be taking in people's feedbacks and choosing who I think is best out of both what I think and out of feedback from the other potential members as well.
Geez. Well, I can tell you this, for what it's worth. If I was in that situation, I'd apply. I mean, to me, you've got everything covered. You got your bases covered all the way around, both for yourself and for the person applying. Very well thought out and very well um, put together. There's, if something is going to succeed, this is it, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I hope it pans out that way. You can't really, I can't really read into the future. Um, but yeah, I have high hopes for this group.
Now, now with your advice, I won't. Advice is the wrong way to put it. Direction for other VTubers. Manager direction.
Hmm.
What exactly are you going to advise them on? More types of things like uh, cross platform materials, maybe shoring up things here and there, that sort of aspect.
A lot of very general advice. First of all, don't quit your day job to pursue streaming or content creation, especially streaming. Streaming does not make a lot of money compared to other types of content creation.
Hmm.
Um, don't, especially if you're on the smaller side, don't quit your day job for it.
Hmm.
Also, don't be, this is gonna sound kind of harsh, but don't be selfish.
Hmm.
You have to identify a niche and you have to stick with it to grow.
Yep.
If you're, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm variety, but they don't see how detrimental that can be
Hmm.
to their growth.
Hmm.
Because, um, for example, I really like dark and gritty games, right?
Right.
I'll probably gravitate to a streamer that likes the same kind of games. However, if they're playing like, a dark and gritty game, and then they suddenly switch to like a pink girly dress up game, that might turn me off as an audience member.
Hmm.
So keep your niche specific. It doesn't mean super, super small, but maybe like a genre, maybe two genres that are like right next to each other, like MMOs or MOBAs, two genres really close to each other. To play through and broadcast that those are the types of content you're doing, and that doesn't mean you can't play other games outside of streaming, but you should try and keep your niche small, and also do not stream for long, long hours at a time. Um, with streaming, it's a lot more important with the marketing aspect. You're making extraneous content that you can post on other platforms
Hmm.
rather than just streaming for 8 hours at a time. That's something I had to learn the hard way. I remember I used to stream 4 to 6 hours a day, every single day, and that's really not how you grow. Twitch has terrible discoverability.
Right.
You want to stream maybe like in 2 to 3 hour increments, and then use like maybe an hour or two to make content on other platforms.
Yep. Yeah. It's it's a formula that has a better chance for success for sure. I mean, there's always outliers to everything, and some people just have the personality to pull off something that is really a variety kind of setup. Um, you're not discouraging people trying different things while they're streaming, are you?
No, they can definitely. That doesn't mean that they can't experiment. I would say like the niche thing comes after they've experimented with what. So what best contributes to a niche for a person is what two qualities. What does well with the audience, your current audience and future audience. If you stream in a category and you see your numbers constantly like being high or going up, that would probably be a good niche for you to, go under.
Hmm.
However, another thing is also your own enjoyment. Can you, are you interested in this, and can you basically stream this for over like a long period of time without getting bored?
Right.
And what can you provide to the audience? Can you provide information, knowledge? Are you, entertaining? That also contributes to content, and like what you should really hone down or to, fine tune when it comes to content creation.
Oh yeah, 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 and that's just puts it in a nutshell right there. And if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's going to go to the audience, and they're going to realize it. Um,
For sure, there is a well-known League of Legends creator that happened to actually, and he's fallen out of relevancy because of that.
yeah, yeah,
People really can tell
yeah,
if
and
you're no longer in love with whatever you're making content for.
yeah, and if you got something that you're on, and you're playing a game for the first time, maybe on stream, and it's just a mess, and it's just, I go, have fun with it. Don't go back to it. I mean, don't revisit the carnage if you didn't have fun with it the first time. It's you see folks trying to force things down their own throats and their audience's throat, and nobody's enjoying themselves then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I don't really have anything else to add to
yeah.
that.
I mean, it seems to be. You would think I mean, someone like me looking in, you'd think, well, that makes sense. But then you see people still doing it because they think that they know they're going to beat an algorithm or something while doing that. Um, Having somebody there to advise them against things like that may make a big difference for people. And uh, I think what you're going to be doing is providing them with a really good outlet for that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we also take like artists, volunteers, riggers, but I hope people don't expect us to have access to those regularly. We do have someone that volunteered to be an artist for us, but again, I don't want to overload them on commissions or requests from everyone, so I'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Well, uh, Leslie, it seems like you got things set up in a pretty good package for everybody. If someone wants to get a hold of you, I mean, I know that you've already got your applications for the group, and you've got a lot more to go through. But if someone wants to get a hold of you about the management advice and the direction, how can they do that?
They can definitely just DM me. I have a lot of the information in my card. They can DM me on Twitter, reach out to me via Discord, email me even, and I'll get back to them with how that process goes. In which I do typically vet my clients to see if I would be a good fit for them as a manager as well. I won't just take their money. I'll make sure that I can actually provide them something beneficial, whether it be guidance or some other service.
Hmm.
And then after vetting them through, they fill out a Google form,
Hmm.
so I vet them that way. And then after that, I end up making a detailed plan for them, and then after that, I book them for a time slot, and then payment actually goes through, and then the management process begins.
So, and we'll get that. Folks will be able to catch that off the card, and folks can catch that online as well. But before we let you go, what's going on with you and your channel right now?
Me and my channel, I'm just getting back into streaming. I'll only be streaming Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and I won't be posting videos yet. I'm gonna be holding onto a backlog of episodic like videos, and I hope to be releasing either videos weekly or bi-weekly, and they're going to be like small, short, maybe 5 to 10 minute videos
Mm-hmm.
on lore,
Mm-hmm.
episodic videos. That's kind of like the reception I got that was best. I might try. I did both longer lore videos and these shorter chunks,
Mm-hmm.
episodic videos. I'll really have to keep experimenting on that front to see what people prefer. But I might just, go between the two. If I have more time, I might do a longer lore video. And if I don't have as much time, I might just do like these episodic videos. But I hope to consistently upload for a while.
Eliza, thanks for coming back on, and I think you're providing a service that a lot of people are going to be able to use. And I think I think you're going to be extremely more busy than you even are right now.
Thank you. I really appreciate you bringing me back on. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence. and I hope that things do pan out.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they're going to pan out for you. I think this is going to go a ways, and this may be what you're providing. May be more prevalent in the future for people than what we see overseas from the United States and that type of thing. It's going to be tough for that to survive, I think, in the next few years. But what you're providing makes a lot more sense for a lot more people, at least in this part of the world. And I hope people are taking advantage of it because let's face it, folks. Eliza's got a good head on their shoulders, and has it all set up for you. Make sure you find out what's going on with Eliza as soon as you can, and see whether Eliza can help you out. Thank you again so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for those still interested in Project Zero, you have until the very end of December 2024 to apply, and they will be closing the very 1st of January. So
There you go, folks. It's all up and open to you till the end of January. Please give Eliza more work to do. Merry Christmas to you. Here, have some more work. But it also seems like you're enjoying yourself with it, and which is the best thing of all.
yeah, I am enjoying myself with it.
Yes, and helping out other people is a great thing too. We'll get you on again here soon, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Thank you for listening to Part 2. Please check in on the Eric Loy Interviews YouTube channel for more interviews with the always interesting VTuber community.